On June 19, 2 days before the summer solstice, Jupiter will be eclipsed by the Sun to complete a line in space from the dark rift of the Milky Way to Earth, Sun, Jupiter and Orion. This lineup by itself is not such a rare event. The last time this configuration occurred was on June 21, 1930. However, we also have two somewhat famous comets which will also form a parallel line at the same moment in time. On September 21, 2012, 1 day before the spring equinox, Comet Ison is claimed to have been discovered. The discovery of Comet C 2012 S1 Ison was announced by the Ison Observatory and is the first comet ever to be named after the observatory rather than the astronomer that discovered it. The Ison Observatory is the same observatory involved in the discovery of Comet Elenen. Comet C 2010 X1 Elenen was the source of much speculation in 2011, which tied the alignment between the Sun, Earth and Comet Elenen to major earthquakes, such as the magnitude 8.8 off the coast of Chile on February 27, 2010, the magnitude 7 earthquake in Christchurch, New Zealand on September 3, 2010 UTC, and the magnitude 9.1 off the coast of Japan on March 11, 2011, which released a devastating tsunami resulting in the multiple nuclear meltdowns in Fukushima. The name of Comet X1 Elenen also generated much speculation, not only because it seemed to suggest 1111 when read in one direction, but also 911 when read backwards, and it passed through the ecliptic plane on September 11, 2011, 1 day after its perihelion. Comet C 2010 X1 Elenen is claimed to have been discovered by Russian amateur astronomer Leonid Elenen on December 10, 2010, through remote control of the International Scientific Optical Network, ISON. And by way of coincidence, if you were to draw a line from Comet Elenen to Comet Ison on December 10, 2010, it would also connect to almost the same longitudinal position in Orion as the upcoming eclipse of Jupiter. This position in Orion keeps coming up in relation to significant world-changing events. For on the morning of September 11, 2001, at the moment of the first attack, this is the position of the Moon in the sky. Then again in 2004, at the time of the magnitude 9.3 Banda Aceh earthquake and the so-called Boxing Day tsunami, which claimed the lives of 250,000 people, this is the position of the Moon at that moment. On September 22, 2012, on the spring equinox, there was a perfect occultation of Sirius by the Earth. From the perspective of the Moon, Sirius passed behind the centre of the Earth with a maximum occultation occurring on the prime meridian, 0 degrees longitude. At that moment, a perfectly straight line could be drawn from the dark rift through the centre of the Moon, through the centre of the Earth at the prime meridian, through the centre of Sirius, and to the same longitudinal position of Betelgeuse in the constellation of Orion. From the surface of the Moon, you'd see Elenen on the left of the Earth and Jupiter on the right, Orion behind the Earth with Sirius exactly behind the centre of the Earth at the prime meridian. So, what was the significant event associated with this extremely rare alignment? In my opinion, it was the announcement of the discovery of Comet Ison, which was almost immediately hyped as a great comet, the comet of the century, and perhaps the comet of the millennium. Now this line is marked out in space yet again on June 19, 2013, 2 days before the winter solstice, when the dark rift, Earth, Sun, Jupiter and Orion line up yet again. And by incredible coincidence, Comet Ison and Comet Elenen will also form a parallel line in space at exactly the same time. Big events do happen on big alignments, and this alignment seems to be signposted by Comet Ison and Elenen. But why? Hollywood brought us the Doomsday movie 2012, which also appeared to reference the date September 22, 2012, the day of the spring equinox and the day of the galactic alignment, and the day Ison was announced to the world. Could both Ison and 2012 be symbolic anagrams? What does all this mean? Are Comet Elenen and Comet Ison just hoaxes by the powers that be and never really existed, just like so many other recent media hoaxes? Or are they artificial comets, billion-dollar stage props? Or are they truly some sign in the sky? And this is where it gets difficult to push everything into the New World Order conspiracy bin. As for the hypothesis that when the Earth passes between the Sun and Elenen, here's a strange little observation. On February 3, 1931, at 10:47 AM local time, a magnitude 7.9 earthquake struck off the east coast of New Zealand and flattened 2 cities and several towns while raising hundreds of hectares of land out of the sea. I know this story well because it happened in the place where I was born, and I heard these stories as I grew up. On checking the position of Elenen for that quake, I found the Sun, Earth, Moon and Elenen were in almost perfect alignment at the moment of the earthquake. That might not make much sense in a Newtonian universe, but it does for an electric universe. Survivors of the 1931 earthquake would talk about earthquake weather, as apparently it was an unusually hot and humid day. The kind of day you'd associate with severe thunderstorms. When I was younger, I thought the connection between weather and earthquakes was ridiculous. Now, I believe it is exactly what you should expect. I've already shown in previous videos how the position of Jupiter affects the sea levels in the South Pacific. We can observe this correlation for 13 years, more than one orbit of Jupiter around the Sun. It is as if the sea floor in the South Pacific is tuned to Jupiter's radio emissions, and our Moon acts as a directional radio antenna. Mainstream media, while cheerleading the escalating war in Syria, are hyping a story that Putin stole Kraft's NFL ring in 2005. This is reminiscent of the football connection in the BBC's apocalyptic series Spooks Code 9. Olympic rings, sports stadium rings. Meanwhile, the security around the G8 meeting in Northern Ireland on the 17th and 18th is described by the BBC as a ring of steel. Are the world leaders even in Northern Ireland? And if they are, where will they be on the 19th? Which brings me to the music of the spheres concept. That suggests the detonation of nuclear devices is dependent upon specific planetary configurations and alignments. In other words, nuclear weapons can't be detonated at just any time. Significant advanced planning and calculations involving celestial bodies are necessary for nuclear chain reactions to occur. Keith Hunter has a rather long video on YouTube detailing these principles. Is the alignment of the dark rift to Earth, Sun, Jupiter and Orion suitable for such an event? I have no idea, but it may be. Is there anything else special about June 19? It was brought to my attention that June 19 is Juneteenth Day, also known as Freedom Day, a holiday in the United States that commemorates the abolition of slavery. Though Abraham Lincoln had issued the Emancipation Proclamation on September 22nd, the fall equinox of 1862, it had minimal effect for most slaves of the Confederate States of America. Texas was particularly resistant, and on June 18 and 19 of 1865, Union General Gordon Granger and 2,000 federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas to take possession of the state and enforce the emancipation of its slaves. So, in summary, we've got Comet Elenen and Ison from the same observatory aligning with the same longitudinal position in Orion on the date the first was discovered and on the date of the June 19 Jupiter eclipse, which also lines up to the same longitudinal position in Orion, just as the Moon and Earth for 9/11 and the Boxing Day tsunami, and the Illuminati countdown clock for the perfect Sirius occultation on the fall equinox last September, and the hyped up last day of the Mayan long count calendar, December 21 of 2012. What is going to be the world-changing event on June 19, if any? Perhaps a royal child conceived on the equinox alignment will be born on the 19th. Perhaps Comet Ison lights up like the red Kachina just as Comet Holmes did, as if it were the blue Kachina. An assassination? A Spooks Code 9 style event leading to a formal start of World War III. A Carrington superflare perhaps. A significant earthquake would seem quite possible. With magnetic north accelerating towards North America, could a major earthquake trigger a pole shift? I have no idea, but I do think something big is on the horizon. Alignments with Ison, as far as I'm aware, have never been associated with any earthquakes, yet Elenen has a long history of earthquakes when aligning with the Earth and Sun. I suspect there is no Comet Ison, or it is an old, insignificant comet that has been renamed. Jupiter does have a history of earthquakes when lining up with the Earth and Sun, which is not surprising given Jupiter's effect on sea levels in the South Pacific, so a significant earthquake could be possible at the time of Jupiter's eclipse. Major earthquakes can also occur when alignments are made at the solstice, such as on December 21 of 2010. However, alignments between the Earth, Moon and Pleiades account for the majority of big earthquakes, so if the June 19 lineup charges the Earth with energy, we may see some pre-quakes, like the crackling of an overcharged capacitor, in which case a big earthquake would be likely to occur 2 days later, when the Moon and Earth line up with the Pleiades and the Earth discharges. That would be June 21st at 7 AM UTC, give or take an hour. On the 19th and on the 21st, I keep an eye on the news and on the weather. With regards to the weather, is it unusually warm or humid, or an unusual change in air pressure perhaps? Check the compass for small changes in direction. Please leave your comments. I'm sure there's something obvious that I've missed. Be alert and stay safe. Thank you for watching.